God for the tech guys around. That was quick, although we've spent about 10 minutes on that. I apologize for that. I'll make it up for you. Good morning. We can hear you loud and clear. Asante sana, Stephen. Also, thank you for sticking around as we were working on it. I would want you to share the link to somebody. Today, I'm going to really talk about audits, and especially through the eTIMS era. Kindly share the link to somebody. We are going to really have a really good time. And I'm also going to give you an opportunity to ask questions so that we can also learn. So I can see some few good mornings. For the replies that we didn't reply, we were just running up and down, just seeing what to do immediately to change the laptop and to do other things. But thank God that everything has worked. I wanted to ask a question, just one question. If this is your first time to join us, kindly tell me. I'll ask in a minute so that we continue through the topic. If this is your first time, just type a yes. Would want to see a bit of a yeses, so that I welcome you to this webinar. If this is your first time, we are going to give you a link. My co-host is going to share the link where you're going to register your email. When you register your email, we're going to put you in a database, and every time that we have these webinars, we shall be able to share with you. We host 3 webinars in a month. We host a webinar for tax trends. It will be happening, I believe, a week or 2 weeks time. We also host a sector-based webinar on taxation, and we host this webinar. This is the third one that we host on a topic. So today our topic is tax audits under the eTIMS era. So I can see so many yeses. Karibuni sana. Karibuni sana, sana, sana. And I pray that you're going to learn a lot. Karibuni sana for all the yeses. We've been here, so karibuni. Karibuni sana, sana, sana. We're going to give you the link where you're going to share your email. So don't share on the chat, we'll give you a link. On that link, you're also going to, we are also going to use those emails to share the notes that you're going to have today. So we are going to also share the notes with you. So karibuni sana. Have you shared the link to somebody? Have you shared the link to somebody? Especially the people that hear eTIMS and they're scared. So today I want to scare you a bit about the progress of eTIMS, especially on tax audits. So, and I'm also going to talk about the filing of, remember we are undergoing the validation process for the income tax for year 2025. I'll give you progress. Let's jump in. Let's go to the training. And you can tell me if you can see, let me see if you can see my notes, the sharing. Kindly say yes, so that I move to the next point of the topic for the day. Just say yes if you can see my sharing. Just say yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I can see a few yeses. So you're also going to ask a question on the chat. I'll be answering the questions. And also, I have tax consultants and other co-hosts that are here with me. And they are also going to answer a few of your questions. I can see yeses. Tax audits in the eTIMS era. So this is my topic for the day. How tax audit will change. That is huge, and that is what I would want to really emphasize today. How tax audit is going to change with the eTIMS era. eTIMS data and audit triggers, especially eTIMS data. Why did eTIMS come to be, and what is the information that eTIMS is giving to KRA that is going to be used to audit your company? So I also would want you to know about eTIMS data, so that the moment you're giving that information, you know what to follow. I'll talk about the key changes to 2025 income tax filing process. Remember, we are undergoing the validation process. I know some of you have not been able to file your audit returns because iTax has been telling you to do validation or the information provided is not adequate. I'm going to show you, then the form is now available. I'm going to show you what information you're going to put in so that that audit, when you do the income tax filing, it is going to go through. Handling tax audits. So after that, we're going to just talk about tax audits. When you undergo a tax audit, what should follow? And possibly if we have time, you're also going to talk about tax resolution, resolution mechanisms, just a few of them. So let's start off how tax audit is going to change. And this is what is happening. And when we started eTIMS, because I've been doing this webinar since 2018, we predicted the things that we can be able to see today. Under eTIMS, we even talked about this process that we are handling this year, that is the push to make sure all the information is captured under eTIMS. And we are right there. So today we are going to do further prediction of what is going to happen in future as we move to really use eTIMS in our businesses. So from real-time monitoring to predictive audits, that is where we are going. So at the moment, KRA monitors transactions. At the moment, KRA looks at the past data. That's what they do. They give you 3-4 years to operate. They send you a letter. They want to confirm the information that you have provided before. So they look at, and I know most of you have gone through audit report. You're told, give us a sales ledger, purchases ledger. We want to see your bank statement for year 2021. At the moment, we are doing 2021. For year 2021, 22, 23, 24, they want to see what happened in the past. But now, through the eTIMS, it is going to be real-time monitoring and predictive audits. So currently, KRA is able to monitor transactions as they happen. Remember, eTIMS is a platform that is giving KRA real-time information about your business. Which information is this? The moment you do your sales, you do your purchases, and not per now, even when you do your expenses. So the next phase is as a system will begin to predict non-compliance before it occurs. Example, if your margin suddenly diverts from industry norms, the system is able to flag out instantly. So the audit will move from observing the past to predicting risk in advance. So that is where we are moving. And the system is able to give full system integration. Remember tax visibility. Now you can be able, now the system is able to have your sales, your purchases, your expenses. It has all the categories of an income tax return. So the eTIMS will increase to integrate, and so the visibility will now become that you'll be flagged out on items on a daily basis. If there's something that is happening, the system itself, not even KRA team, the system itself will be designed in a way that it can be able to detect something, and it can even be able to send you an email to tell you, we saw this and this, you need to clarify. Further, eTIMS will also be able to be integrated with other data. We have iTax, we have custom system, we have banking payment system, and we have even the payroll. Remember, when we talk about the banking, I know banking has been, bank statement has been one of the biggest pull and push, where KRA says that we need full visibility of your banking. full visibility of your tills and your pay bill. It has been a battle to the courts, back to the banking. And remember, when you talk about bank statement, there is a code of confidentiality when it comes to KRA being able to to be able to be in access of your bank statement. So what is happening at the moment? KRA cannot be able to get your bank statement until they request. So during an audit, they can be able to request your bank statement in writing and tell you, we are going through an audit from 2021 to 2024, provide the bank statement. You can voluntarily provide. Of course, during an audit, you have to provide. If you don't provide, KRA can write a letter to Central Bank requesting for your bank statement. So they're in that view. But the push with eTIMS and what is happening there, they want to see how you're doing bankings on a daily basis, as in the system is synchronized with eTIMS in such a way that when a customer pays you through the till or through the pay bill, or even through the bank, they can be able to view. So we are not yet there, but that is the push to go that route, so that they don't have to request the bank statement after. They can, the same way they are viewing your sales, your purchases, they can also be able to view your bank statement. So the issue for bank statement and bank payments will still continue being there, and that will still be an area of concern. But when we talk about the other integrations, eTIMS will be pushed. At the moment, we have the expenses that are exempted from eTIMS, and we mentioned before the personal emoluments, finance costs, those interests. There are charges that are exempted from eTIMS. But what I foresee is that possibly next year, KRA will move in to make sure that all these other institutions are able to embrace eTIMS. Remember, we have government institutions when you go to get a license and so many other things that they have not adopted to eTIMS. I see the push to make sure that they adopt to eTIMS, so that when you pay them and get that eTIMS receipt, it can be fully loaded on your iTax, and they can be able to actually do an income and a profit and loss statement. What KRA is looking for is that through our businesses, through the visibilities of eTIMS, they can be able to do a profit and loss and be able to say, this is the taxes that you're supposed to provide, the same way they do the auto population. Remember, VAT at the moment, we are doing the auto population. You have your sales, your purchases, you just verify and confirm, and you get your assessment. The same way they want to push the income tax return, that it can be able to even predict the taxes that you're supposed to provide. Remember, when we talk about audits, income tax especially, it is a self-assessment audit. You sit down and you write your sales, you write your purchases, you write your expenses, and you pay the taxes. It is it's a self-assessment, is upon goodwill, that the money you assessed yourself, the profit that you assessed yourself, 1 million, and you paid 30%, 300,000, it's upon goodwill that you assessed yourself very well. So until KRA come back to do audit to verify this 300,000, if it is correct, they cannot be able to know. And remember, KRA always will say that they have capacity. They cannot be able to, when the moment we file, then they come back and verify all the companies, bring your sales, bring your banking, bring this, bring this. They want to move to a point where that they have a system. The same way they are able to predict your VAT to pay, they can be able to predict the income tax that you're supposed to pay, for them to be able to minimize the manpower, especially when it comes to tax audits. So how tax will change? The continuous audit. Audit will no longer be an event there will be a continuous process. This will be a continuous process, that there will be a daily check. The system will be able to check and will be able to even instantly say there is something that is happening. So there will be instant notifications from the system. Business will effectively be under scrutiny all the time. So that is where we are headed. Automated assessment and reduced human interaction. I've talked about that at the tail end, they want to remove the human interaction, especially when we do the tax audits. So the system will be able to predict fully your income tax, and you can be able to pay. And this prediction, by the way, is also going to reduce the disputes. Remember, through the dispute process, and I'm going to talk about here, the one thing to win a dispute, and I mentioned before, is proper documentation, is data, is evidence. So the moment the system has all the documentation, it has all your sales and items, have all your purchases and items, all your expenses and items. It has all your documentation. So you cannot come back and say, oh, you assessed me 1 million, but I have this document. And I think you are supposed to assess me 500,000 because of this document. No, the system will assume that it has all the documentation necessary. So the moment KRA is able to reduce the tax audit process, it will also be able to reduce the dispute and all that resolution mechanism and all that part. So what are the eTIMS data and audit trigger? So sales mismatch at the moment, eTIMS versus VAT returns. So at the moment, I'm hoping your system is able to capture this very well, that the eTIMS captured actual invoice sales and the VAT returns is able to reflect the same. So there is no mismatch. At the beginning of the year, when especially last year, when auto population came to be, there was that mismatch. You find that the eTIMS and the VAT has discrepancies. But at the moment, I'm hoping we are out of there, because you can be able to also be able to verify your eTIMS. You can go do a Z report on your eTIMS, then verify on your VAT. So at the moment, I'm hoping we are out of that trigger, because it is one of the biggest triggers. The other one is high volume of invoice cancellation, credit notes. So there are people who cite eTIMS data issues, or the machine had a problem. So that trigger will also going to trigger audit. So this is some of the possible areas that the system will trigger and tell you that there's something that is happening and we need to counter check what you're doing. So those invoice reversals, credit notes issued shortly after sales, they trigger. And one of these area has been used on a special table. And I'm so happy that special table was suspended. And you can tell me on the chat if you are on special table, if you've been able to operate your VAT return and also your eTIMS. I would want to hear on the chat that that now you can be able to operate very well. But the moment you do that credit note, and I've seen this happening before, especially for accountants who don't know how to use eTIMS well. You do a sale possibly of 100,000, then immediately you do a credit note. So the previous periods, if you did that several times, KRA would write you a letter for special table. So so that is a very huge trigger. So how you use eTIMS, it's also very, very important. I know sometimes eTIMS will have downtime. And I'm hoping that they can also be able to correct some of those system issues. The other eTIMS data and audit trigger, this is eTIMS data that is able to trigger audit. Irregular invoice patterns. So the moment you duplicate invoices, skip invoices sequences, unusual timings, bulk invoicing at odd hours, trigger, indicate system misuse. There's a lot of issues, especially when you're having this point of how you're using the eTIMS. And I've seen some of us, I don't know, it's because of capacity or we do some of this intentionally when you're doing this duplication, cancellation, credit notes, those things. I would want you to really be careful on them because they will be triggering a lot of audit. Sudden drop in sales or margins. So this also, remember, when we talk about eTIMS data, and especially for people who are VAT, although we saw that the VAT is being pushed to even to open up the 5 million threshold. I'm going to talk about it on the emerging issues. So that, remember, for your VAT, you're able to see your sales and see your purchases. So those drops that I've been doing sales worth 500,000 in a month, 600,000, and all of a sudden I'm at 50,000. It will also be a trigger. Remember, some of these things we've been doing, but now KRA team is being pushed to be observers of how the system is working. So remember that tax audit, the magnitude of their work is tax audits. And these tax audits are being minimized by the system use. So they will be monitoring how the system is in use. And these are some of the triggers that they are going to be looking at. Input of VAT versus output VAT balance. So you're having very high input VAT, low input VAT. So this means that you're having a lot of purchases, but you're not having equivalent sale. And this I've mentioned before. The possible issues could be fictitious purchases or missing trader exposure. And I've also mentioned what is a missing trader exposure. But also, when we also talk about having a lot of purchases and very low sales, also means that you're not doing your stocks very, very well. And I don't know if I mentioned this somewhere, but I didn't mention, but let me mention it under here. I've seen some of you, and I've talked about stocks management under eTIMS. When you do your purchases, and most of you buy your purchases from companies, established companies, corporations, that they do their eTIMS 100%. They do their purchases, their eTIMS 100%. So they sell to you with eTIMS. But because you don't want to sell with eTIMS, or you want to sell a small amount with eTIMS, and then the rest of the items you don't sell with eTIMS, you're going to have a lot of purchases, but you're going to have very low sales. They are not even balancing, they're imbalance. So, and I've mentioned this before, where I cite a hardware that you buy a cement, just cement, you buy cement from the manufacturing company, and these companies are 100% eTIMS compliance. Remember, I mentioned that as your company grows from the station level to MTO level to large taxpayers office, you become more compliant. So you find that companies as MTO level, they are almost 100% compliance. At LTO level, they are totally 100% compliance, especially when it comes to something like eTIMS. So they sell assignment to you with eTIMS, but you, because you're operating a retail business, a hardware, and you want to minimize the VAT that you're paying, you pay to you sell to your customers, you spare how you sell. So you'll be selling to one customer, then you miss out to sell with 3 customers or 4 customers with eTIMS. So the system is going to look at your purchases and say in the year 2025, and this is something, by the way, I see it, the system will start doing in this month, in this year of 2026. Remember, 2025 is the time that we fully were able to do the auto-population, the eTIMS fully, so it can be able to detect and say, in the year 2025, you bought cement worth 5,000 bags, the full stocks. Then on the sales side, we can only allocate 1,000 bags. You sold 1,000 bags. Then it can be able to ask you, where are the 4,000 bags? It's either you're doing under declarations or you sold without eTIMS. The system will be able to detect some of these areas. Remember, when we talk about using eTIMS, the game changer for eTIMS is especially where you have to identify what you're selling to your customer. Remember the old ETR and the eTIMS, you couldn't specify what you're selling. You could just go to the machine and say 50,000 plus VAT. But under eTIMS, you have to verify that Regina came and bought 5 bags of cement. John came, bought 6 bags of cement. The other person came in and they did 3 bags of cement. So at the end of the year, the system can be able to tell that you actually sold 1,000 bags. So high input VAT, low output VAT, the system will be able to fully detect. And this one, I send warnings to businesses like clubs. These are some of the areas where you buy all your beer under eTIMS. EBL will give you some of these, they will give you eTIMS, but when you come in to sell to your customers, you're not careful on using eTIMS. Some of these areas KRA will be able to detect. And I see, because I've really been talking about this when we started using eTIMS, and I foresee that they'll start using this data this year when they shall, especially after filing, they'll start using this data to monitor our stocks. Mismatch between eTIMS bank statement and withholding. So the difference between eTIMS sales, bank statement, withholding. So full audit scope expansion across taxes. So remember, we are using eTIMS. You do an eTIMS invoice, somebody is able to withhold on your behalf. All this synchronously, all this data, all this certificate will be used to actually see how we are doing business. For the bank statement I've mentioned, at the moment, KRA is not in full view of your bank statement until they request them from you or they request them from the bank. So they can be able to do that request. So that is what I had under eTIMS. The many changes that are going to be happening with eTIMS and tax audits, the triggers under eTIMS data. The data, when you hold your machine to do that invoice, be aware of all these areas. And remember that KRA is conducting data-driven audit, that they picked data somewhere and they want to audit you. Before I go to the tax audits, I'd want to look at a question. Just a minute. I look at the question, then I move to so I can see a few areas, a few questions, and somebody is answering. Thank you. My co-host is answering. Okay, so this special table thing, they put some of our clients on later after a year, they remove them unconditionally. This amounted to rights violation. Okay. They should be sued for damages. Okay. I think my screen is stuck. Okay. I'm hoping you're able to be sorted out. So for the purchases that are imports, the section, when you go to file your VAT, you're going to see the import sections where you're going to have that data. And especially if it comes through the import system, you're actually going to find it. When you be validating your VAT, you find that data there. If the import came through the import system. If it came through the eastern region, the local, like Uganda, Tanzania, you can have the document and manually input the data. What about expenses that cannot be validated? Foreign. So I'll talk about that. What about those who are buying directly from farmers who sell maize and they don't have eTIMS? Our clients are still using Teams. If people are still using Teams, that's still okay. I foresee that Teams possibly will just use it this year, then next year they will be told to graduate to eTIMS. So at the moment, the Teams machines are not in sale. It's just eTIMS. For farmers who don't have the eTIMS, the essence of eTIMS is to widen the tax base. So when you're required to be on eTIMS, you push your suppliers to be on eTIMS. And then your suppliers pushes the other ones to be on eTIMS. So the essence of eTIMS is to just widen the tax base. So at the moment you get to a point where you just have to buy to those who are eTIMS registered. That how do I handle casual labor? So we have wages, which are personal emolument. They're exempted from eTIMS. Just stay here. I'm going to mention how you work them out. What happens to when one is not given eTIMS receipt when purchasing? You have to Milka, kindly get it. Purchases that could not be claimed because suppliers are on special table. What happens? Tell the supplier to, because now they are now because now they are using the machine. Tell them to do a credit note and raise the eTIMS again. Let them raise the eTIMS. They can do a credit note and give you another invoice. Does it mean all businesses, even the small, will have to be tax compliant? If eTIMS, this is a line of purchase that might, okay. Bought with the eTIMS, but you sold to a small trader without. So I've mentioned that one where I mentioned that you're going to be having purchases that are eTIMS, but your sales are not on eTIMS. So that's mismatch will be seen through eTIMS. So eTIMS will be able to tell you that you're buying, but you're not selling. What is happening? What happens when you buy an asset and capture on eTIMS? No. Even if you buy a car, you just capitalize. So KRA is also aware of those assets. So there is no problem of buying anything with any asset, whether it's a laptop, is furniture, that is okay. So what is the worst case scenario when discover that there exists imbalance between input VAT and output? Okay, so the worst scenario is that they're going to take all your purchases and assume that you sold them. So if you're having the scenario I gave of 5,000 bags, then you sold 1,000 bags. You either show them that the 4,000 bags are either on stock. If you don't have any stocks worth 4,000 bags, the 3,000, for instance, you have stocks worth like 500 bags. So that is 3,500 bags that are not anywhere. They can pick that and put now the selling price and tell you to pay the VAT and the income tax in that regard. So the fines generated over time through the special table, we've not heard about it. So for those penalties, especially for non-filing, for me, I just recommend if you have principal amounts to pay, just pay the principal amounts. Then for the penalties, you can, for the 10,000 penalty for non-filing, not filing, you can have it there on the system for a while. If KRA one time, they just give us amnesty of penalties and interest, you can. But if you need the tax compliance, in the future, sometimes you end up paying them to just get a tax compliant. What happens when you have more eTIMS purchased and lack to declare all of them? What are the consequences? I'm imagining if you have eTIMS purchases, they are supposed to auto-populate the moment you do, you're doing your VAT. Or you remove them after they auto-populate. I want to hear what you do. I'm imagining they fully auto-populate the moment you're filing. So if you don't use them, that will be a trigger. That will be a huge trigger because it will show that you're buying but you're not selling. What is this that you're buying that you're not selling? What if my purchases are very high and my sales is low? That's okay. If it is a genuine case, it's okay. The problem is if it is not a genuine case. If you can be able to demonstrate, that's okay. So how do you declare sales to customers who are buying for consumption? Neighborhood retail shops. So for all the sales are supposed to be on eTIMS. Kindly explain the missing trader. Under the old system here, does it have the stock control? No, the teams doesn't have the stock control at the moment, but I'm very sure that in a year, the teams, because the teams, last year, the teams was not sold, I guess also a part of 2024. So the majority of companies are using eTIMS. So we're going to see what happens with that. And I foresee that one time KRA will render the teams use redundant, and they will tell the companies which are using teams to be on eTIMS. Remember, eTIMS today is free of charge. Okay. So I can see so many questions, so many questions. My co-host, you can answer a few as I proceed. Give me a bit of like 15 minutes, we learn, then I come back to the questions, if that's okay. If that's okay, I can see about driver's mileage. I can see, okay. Okay, so that's okay. My co-host, you can answer a few. Not all expenses are required to be on eTIMS. Remember, I mentioned that there are expenses that are eTIMS exempt, and there are sections where you're supposed to have them. So I'll mention there at the tail end. Let me go back to the questions. Remember, if you have a personalized questions, if you are undergoing a tax audit, if you have a very personalized questions, my co-host, you can share a link for calendar booking. You can do a calendar booking, and we are going to answer. I'm going to answer your questions. Your question. Yes. So you can share that. So let's go back to the training. Let's talk about tax audits, a bit of tax audit. And I'm hoping if you're not undergone a tax audit, I just mentioned a few areas that you need to understand. Because of time, I'll just move just a bit faster. So these are the stages of tax audit. You get a notification letter. This is the moment when you get an email. The email will come with the request of documentation. They need, I guess I have I don't know if I put I'll look at that. I'll look at the documents required. I'll mention them. So it will write and will tell you we are undergoing our return review. These are the documentation that you're supposed to provide. Then they are going to give you the 7 days, 14 days, or a specific day for submission of that documentation, which you can request for more time. If there is no response, KRA will look at the directors who are in the PIN certificate, get their phone numbers, and they are going to call. And they say that there's an email they shared, and these are the details of the email. Kindly respond. After that, you're going to get a preliminary meeting. This is a meeting where you discuss about your company, especially if this is the first time that you've been audited. This meeting mostly happen. It can happen on site, that is your company's premises, or at KRA. The questions asked is what business do you do? Who are the directors? How many employees do you have? Just general knowledge about your business. They want to know at the point where they are looking at the documentation, they can be able to relate the information that you provided plus the documentation that they are having. Then you go to the document submission, all the document that they have requested for. They've asked for sales. Remember, I mentioned that the tax audit is data-driven. Already they have information, eTIMS information. They have income, VAT information if you're VAT registered. They have income tax information. They have information from your suppliers. They have information from your customers. Remember the point where your PIN is being used either by your suppliers or by your customers. All those information, KRA has that information. If you sold land and you used your PIN, they have that information. If somebody withheld some money and gave you a certificate, they have that information. So it is data-driven audit. If you did imports, they have that information. If you did export, they have all that information. So they synchronize all this information to audit your business. So they have this back-end information. They just want now to verify with the document that you're having. So for sales, they are looking for your bank statement. They look for your sales ledger, and they also look at your invoices, your sales invoices. And if you have M-Pesa, pay bill, and tills, they also look at that information. They are looking for under declarations. You say that your company, you sold 10 million. Is it the same 10 million? Is it the same 10 million on your bank statement? and on your sales ledger. So are we having more? And especially for bankings, for banking, you might find that you have a bit of more. So for those people who really do balancing, you find that you have a bit of more because possibly there are some reversals. There are some debtors that paid, you sold last year, but they paid this year. There are some areas. So they want to verify and see the documentation. When it comes to purchases, they'll ask for purchases ledger. They'll ask for those purchases invoices. They just want to see what you are buying is what you're selling. They will also ask for other documentation like debtors listing, creditors listing. Nowadays, KRA is really asking about stocks. Stock movement, I've seen that is, especially since last year, that has been their major part. And that's why I also mentioned through eTIMS. If KRA right now, they are pushing to see your stocks, and they're just using scanty information that from your VAT and your income tax. What if they are having the full disclosure of eTIMS? Then they are really going to push on how we do our stocks. So that is an area that you really need to be careful. So how is KRA doing stock movement schedules? When you provide a closing stock, on your income tax return, you provide a closing stock there. For instance, 5 million. That 5 million, they ask for stock listing. So you have an opening stock, you have a closing stock. Then they run the data on your VAT return. They run all the data for all the 12 months. Remember, it has a sales and it has a purchase. So they do opening stock, they do all the sales, they do all the purchases for the 12 months. They compare with the closing stock and they find errors. And KRA, I think they are using very tough softwares to do some of these things. And that is stock movement, and they are really keen on that. So they also look at director's account, stock money. I've talked about stocks, loan statement, asset register. So document submission according to the nature of your business. So if you find that you're in a school, KRA would want to see employee contract, payrolls, depending on the nature of your business. If you're in a business that has a lot of stock, you find that they want to do, if you're in manufacturing, they want to see production records, stock movement, raw material records, such. So depending on the nature of business, they will push to see specific information. After that, we're going to get a KRA review with queries. This is where whatever queries they raise, they are going to do it in writing, and you're supposed to respond. The other part is where we do the taxpayer's response. So for us, if you take you through the entire process, when you receive a letter, because this is our core business. When you receive a letter, you give it to us. We start from number one. Addressing the letter, doing the preliminary meeting, doing the documentation submission. KRA would do reviews and have their findings. We answer those findings on your behalf. That is the taxpayer's response. Then we have the final audit findings. This is where we come to the point where these are the areas that have tax issues. Of course, this is upon all submission of documentation. And at tail end, there is an assessment notice. On the assessment notice, you might be assessed amount that you feel that you have documentation. Remember, for all the KRA process, what is required is documentation, evidence, data. So you might feel that I have this information, this data, and I did not get a fair judgment. We can go to the next point. But at this point, the assessment notice is issued, and a letter to just say that for year 2021 to 2024, we checked corporation tax. These were the taxes for VAT, for withholding, for pay as you earn. All these are all the issues. The tax summary is this, and that assessment is, they also do those assessment on They also do those assessment on your iTax portal. So if you are aggrieved, you're going to go to the next point where we do the objection. So you might go through this process, and this process can take 3 months, 6 months, a year, more than that, depending on the progress and what the flow. So we can push ourselves to objection. So this is a point where within 30 days, you can be able to object. And the moment you object within the 30 days, the objection takes 60 days to be determined. This is the point where the reason why we object is that you're having additional documentation, number one. Second is that you're going to meet another team that is able to look at your documentation. So in this entire process, you'll be meeting different teams that are going to look at your documentation. Of course, they do a reference of what happens in the previous period. So these first teams write that you have tax issues worth 5 million, and they give their verdict. Then on the next, during the objection, they are going to read and say what happened at this particular point. They can even invite them to ask them, why did you judge this client for 5 million? And they are saying they are not even liable to any taxes. So they give their conclusions. From that point, they can now look at your documentation, and either they can agree or disagree. If they disagree, you can move to the next level, that is a tribunal. And at the tribunal also, you also be required to, that is a TAT, you also be required to also do the same process where you're also giving your evidence of documentation. And at that point, you can also request to go to the alternative dispute resolution, that is the ADR, where you can also be heard. All these processes are happening to just make sure that they are just making sure that you as a taxpayer, you as a company, you get a fair judgment. Remember, after this process, you can also go to the courts, the High Court, to be heard. This entire process sometimes takes a lot of time. By the time the objection has a timeline, the TAT has a timeline, the ADR has a timeline, you go to the courts, and sometimes you find a case that was started in 2020, it is still going through this process. It is a very vigorous process, it is stressful, and it can really weigh you down as a company. And I've seen some companies getting misguidance in this area of dispute, and I would want you to really hear about this very well. So KRA comes to you and they assess you like 100 million. And you start saying, oh, this is, now what? Let me bring it home. No, they're wananionea. Tell me wananionea on give me the right word to use on that. So you don't take it seriously, and you start having a pull and push. And the only way to be able to solve a tax case is to be sober, to have your records, to have your evidence, nothing else, and to have a tax consultant that is who understand this process. So I've seen people having the wrong tax consultant and not taking it very seriously. And you don't even take time to prepare information and to prepare data, to prepare documentation, evidence that is supposed to, whatever you're saying, you have something to back it up. So you arguing a case on words, and a case takes time until one day you find 100 million assessment on your portal. And that is the time now you start understanding that this case was serious as I had you had assumed. Then you start this dispute resolution mechanism. And you're having somebody who's telling you, oh, tutaisolve siku moja, tutaisolve. You go to the objection, you don't have what is required for you to solve 100 million case. Remember, the findings, the pre-assessment, you could be written 100,000, 100 million, and you just look at them and you say, are they crazy? I've never even seen 100,000, 100 million in my whole entire life. Even, these are the things I hear from business and taxpayers, and they will tell you, even if you sell me and the company assets, we cannot even raise 100 million. That's still okay. But do we have proper documentation to counter-attack what KRA is writing? So you think that somebody is crazy somewhere, so you assume. And because you don't have proper documentation, you do an objection. An objection goes very fast. Within 45 days, KRA is supposed to judge. Within those 45 days, KRA, they ask you, they write and they tell you, give us documentation. You don't provide any documentation, or you go there and say, oh, sikusikizwa, oh, nilikuwa hivi, hata hiyo wakati nilikuwa mgonjwa, hata So I apologize for that. So if you can hear me, just say a yes. If you can hear me, just say a yes. If you can hear me, just say a yes. Apologize for I requested for a minute. Okay. So I was on the warning of a case. Thank you, David. Thank you, thank you. I just needed to grab something. Oh, I'll share the screen again. So I wanted to say that at the tail end, such a case ends in the courts. So the moment the case is there, is 100 million for sure. And you have never seen such money. Actually, you've never even made such such a profit. But it is stressing you up to a level you start thinking of how you're going to close down the company. Why? Because you did not get the right information the very first time that you started getting audited. That very first time when you are getting audited, you thought you did not take the right steps and you didn't have the right person to take you through the entire process. So tax cases is something that can really pressure somebody. So I would encourage you to really work on it. Let me share the screen again so that we can now talk about emerging issues. Continue asking something on the chat. So if you can see the screen, you can tell me. I'm going to share the notes with you. I'm going to share the notes with you. And I said for you to receive the notes, kindly, my co-host, you can share, the link. You're going to give me your email. There's an email you're going to share on the link, and then we're going to share the notes with you so that you can learn more. Okay, if you can see the notes, tell me a yes. Thank you. My co-host, kindly share the link again. I can see some people asking for the link. Kindly share the link again. Asante, there are people who are telling me that my background has some noises. Sijui ni kama ni mahali niko. I don't know. So if you can tell me if I'm noisy, ama ni reduce volume. Sometimes I talk very loudly. Okay. Okay, so I can hear you. Hi, Asante. Asante. Continue asking the questions. I'll get time to answer. By 12 we'll be done, so I'll get time to answer. Let me go back to the notes so that I can teach you something more before I come back to the questions. Screen not clear. I had people telling me they can see the screen. Screen not clear. Screen not clear. I don't know what that means. Simuniambia hapo ni aje. Let me share another one. A tax tribunal, that's where I was. ADR. I wanted to talk about changes in the income tax filing. So tell me if you can see changes to income tax filing. That's what I want to talk about. So can you see the email? Can you see the screen? Sorry. Can you see the screen? I just want to hear the great. My God, okay. Sawa, Santeni. Someone, my co-host, somebody is saying that they write the email, they don't receive the notes, and they will be share. Kindly make sure that you write your email very well immediately after this. Today, somebody is sharing the notes with you very, very much. So we always do this. We prepare them for you. So somebody is going to share. Let me talk about the changes in the income tax. So let me just do a recap. because of that point. The recap was for this entire process, because the tax dispute resolution mechanism, the entire process is very tiring. It is very stressful. I request that get a tax consultant, get us to help you through the entire process. And when you go through this, don't assume. Some of us do. Some of us say, I'm going to do my own representation. And it's okay. But at the tail end, the amount of pressure and the amount of stress, sometimes I've seen cases at the tribunal level, at the ADR, going even to the High Court. And when you move to the next one, you can't go back. Ati sasa tuko objection. No, wacha turudi at the when we were doing the tax audit, or you are the tribunal and you say, oh, now I've discovered my issues, let me go back to objection. No, 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 no. The moment you move up, you don't move down. So just make sure that you solve them properly. I've seen companies close down because of taxes, and they were just simple issues that should have been solved very easily. And someone continues with their business. So that is what I wanted to mean. So let's move to the changes to the income tax filing. Remember this year, 2026, there was the circular that was issued last year for verification or validation of our records through three areas: the eTIMS, the custom duty, the custom data, and withholding. And eTIMS was the biggest of them all. So when we started the year 2026, the income tax filing for year 2025, especially for January to December, specifically for January to December financial year, those returns were not going through because they were requiring this validation. And there are some expenses that are exempted from eTIMS. And these are the expenses that are exempted from eTIMS. Now KRA has been able to provide areas where you can put that information. So we have, when you download today, you're going to download the new income tax filing document. After you download it, it has these areas which is able to see. Remember, right now it can also be able to auto-populate data. I don't know if I put that one here. I guess that one I put on the previous tax trends to discuss here. I didn't put here on the tax trends. So the income tax return can be able to auto-populate information. It is able to auto-populate information about your business, withholding in taxes if they are there, advanced taxes, installment taxes if they are there. You can be able, the moment you get it, is going to give you even those information. Previously, if a company did installment taxes, we had to go back to the system and source that information so that we can input. But right now, the system is able to capture all that information on the income tax filing return and be able to have that information already there. So it's able to auto-populate this information. Beyond that, you're supposed to have these expenses that are excluded from eTIMS in these categories. So employment, for instance, employment expense, that is the emoluments. There is section 6.5 on the profit and loss account. So make sure that you put it there for that income tax to be able to go through. Otherwise, it will not go through if you don't follow these areas. Interest expenses, for instance, from loans. If you have loans, those interest expenses are exempted from eTIMS. It is, for instance, it is like 500,000, for instance. Row 7.1 on the profit and loss, you put that information there. We have the investment allowances, expense subjected to final withholding tax, or that you have the categories to put that data there. So beyond that, this is now what I wanted to mention, that on the tax trends, which I did about 3 weeks ago, I talked about the additional sheets which were not provided, but now they are provided. They were provided a week ago. So these additional sheets, they are now available where you can input information that you're having that is not exempted from eTIMS, but you have those expenses. You did not collect eTIMS records, but the expenses are, but you incurred those expenses. So you're going to manually input that information. So there are 2 new sheets fields have been introduced, and this is how they look like. So these are for purchases and expenses not supported by TIMS or eTIMS. They were supposed to be supported, but you did not support. Yes, but you did not support. They are not exempted. They were supposed to be supported, but you did not support. So you're supposed to have them here. I'm going to show you where you're going to have them on the system. But KRA has also stated, because you're supposed to have, there are 2 areas. You're supposed to write, for instance, if it is rent, you're supposed to write rent, you incurred $1 million. Then after that, you're supposed to input the supporting document. Those are the invoices, the rent ama receipts. Those that are not supported by TIMS or eTIMS, they are supposed to upload them there. So those areas are there. And this is where I mentioned that the need for proper record keeping. So if you incurred that expense and you did not have a record, now this is where you're having issues. I know some of us in car, we operate our companies in our pockets. Unalipa tu, but hakuna kuitisha risiti. You fuel a car, you don't even request for a receipt. This is where you're going to get a challenge. So this one specifically requires that you have the expense, then you have the supporting document, and there are sections where I'm going to show you how you're going to input that data. After that, KRA is going to conduct post-filing return validation. So they're going to, after we file, I'm pre-assuming, this is me, pre-assuming that the moment we input this data, the return will go through. So kuja tax trends, I'll do tax trends possibly in 2 weeks' time. When you come, we'll see. I'll give you information if for when we input the data, how the system is reacting. So we're going to input that data that is not supported by eTIMS, and we're going to support with those manual records. Then KRA, I'm pre-assuming that the return will go through. But KRA has stated that after we do the filing, I'm assuming is around July, August, after the return period is over, they are going to do post-filing return validation. They are now going to come to those expenses, those purchases and expenses that are not supported with TIMS or eTIMS, those ones that you supported manually, they are going to verify them. And you can see the trend, where the way we are saying that this system is supposed to actually tell you how much taxes you're going to be paying. They've now narrowed from the many, when they were doing the tax audit, income tax audit, they will look at so many areas, but now they are coming down to a place where they can now look at the supporting document that you have provided. So they will do that post-filing return validation after the filing season is over. That is what I'm pre-assuming they will do it at that particular point. Because if they do it now, I don't know if you shall be filing Sijui kama return tutakuwa tukigoja inafanyiwa post filing return and then it goes through, but I'm pre-assuming that they will allow the moment we do this we do this support the way they are saying the return will go through, then after that they are going to do the post filing return validation. So for who will have a challenge in this system, if you don't have proper records. Second, for organizations that have expenses, they claim expenses which are not valid. So you come and see you have a lot of profit. The profit is 3 million. And you can't pay 3 million multiplied by 30% is 900,000. And you say, I cannot pay KRA 900,000. So what do? You input expenses, marketing expense, field expenses. Which other expenses do you give there? Expenses that, because KRA cannot be able to know those expenses as per now, until they come do the tax audit, then that returns goes through. But now you have to verify those expenses. So those are the people that are going to have that challenge, and is also something that to think about. So how is that being done? So when you look at the dashboard, this is the addition to the dashboard. If you interacted with the iTax portal, you can see those additions. So you're going to come and select there. So when you're selecting the VAT, you can be able to see what was filed on your VAT return. So this one I was demonstrating. Select the VAT, then select the particular month, then click download VAT transaction to view all your returns filed for 2025. You can actually see all your return that you filed for 2025 just to confirm. So this is the confirmation. You're going to come there as a file, as a zip file, and this is how it's going to look like. The all return filed, all eTIMS data can be accessed for cross-checking before filing. So for somebody who's saying, I don't know how much I did for VAT, I don't know how much I did for eTIMS, you can be able to cross-check before you do the income tax return. And I'm hoping that we understand all the sales that we declared for eTIMS is the sale that we declare for income tax return. And today I didn't do audit triggers, but I'm also seeing that the audit triggers will be changing as the system is changing. So to download an auto-populated return, navigate to file return under the return button, the return tab. You can see the income tax return down there, simplified return. The return, you can see there's additions of simplified return, income tax return adjustment. You can be able to see them there. You're going to select the obligation income tax. That's what we are doing. Download the auto-populated IT company return, income tax return, and this is how it looks like. Yes. So it has, this is where I was saying that it has now when you open it, it has now pre-filled. I said it has auto-populated. It has pre-filled some information. So you can be able to do that. If you had withholding taxes, they are present there. If you have installments or minimum tax paid, you can see it there. This information we used to go back to the system to check and input. So it can be able to actually be able to give that. So for non-eTIMS expense, this is what I want you to see. For non-eTIMS expense, you go to the income tax return adjustment. Income tax return adjustment. Down there, you can see the addition. Then you're going to download it. Proceed by selecting select the accounting period. We are in 2025, and this is where you have the file. So choose the file. We have the upload CSV file and the uploading supporting documents. So there are two sections. So under the CSV template, this is where you're going to put all those expenses. the supplier name, the supplier invoice, the date, the what. You're going to have all those expenses. Na ni kazi, so you're going to cite one expense by another. One supplier, one by another, invoice, number, invoice. Imagine. So it's for instance, if you're having fuel, let me say fuel, and you're having 3 million worth of fuel the whole year, you're going to write invoice number one by one. Unamaliza hiyo. Then you come to rent one by one. Then you come to the next one. Field expenses, marketing expenses, one by one. So this is a point where if you don't have this actual record, this is where now the challenge will be. After that, you're going to come to upload supporting document. Remember here is like an Excel working. This is an Excel working where you just input the data. Then you come to the next sheet where you're going to now upload the documents. Hapa. Upload supporting documents. So the information that you have provided in the CSV file, you're going to support here. So you're going to upload those two receipts. You're going to upload them there. So back to the return template. After you've done that, ensure that you claim the total non-eTIMS expense. So it's also going to give you the space where you're going to write manually the non-eTIMS return expenses there, so that it can be able to lower your profits. Iko sawa? Ama it was too much to understand? Was it too much? I want to hear your questions. I want to see your questions. I want to hear your questions. Let me go to the question. I'll share the notes with you. You're going to follow. You're going to follow. James says repeat. James ameniambia ni repeat. Okay. So ask the question. Can we do the usual manual download? No, it will not accept. Remember, now we are using a version. Na sijui tuko version what? So the version that is now on use is what you're supposed to use. So you have to download the income tax return that is being used today. You can't use an older version. We better start filing early. Mine is saying no data for selected period. Oh, someone was following when I was showing. Okay. Which document can one use? E.g., when buying tomato, cabbage from the market where the organization is providing meals for members. Petty cash vouchers would serve. Alice petty cash vouchers will serve. So because at the moment, that is, they just want to see a support document. I think a petty cash voucher, you can use it as per now. But remember, we are doing this for year 2025. For year 2026, I don't think that those areas will be provided. We need to have all the expenses now on eTIMS. In my view, KRA are missing the point on tax collection. Companies, on limited companies, yet they are leaving the bigger bigger lot of individuals who don't even pay, so they look for easy ways. And you as tax consultant, you need to file assessment. Okay. Yet they leave the bigger lot of it who don't even pay tax. Okay. I hear you. I hear you, Bernard. I would want to hear the bigger, I would want you to hear the bigger lot. I want to hear the bigger lot. Who are they? Who are they? Because at the moment, eTIMS now is what is in use. And I've seen organized businesses adopting eTIMS in order to survive. So I would want to hear the bigger lot. Who are they? I'm wondering whether the government institution will be able to file the 2025. Which are these government institution, Dorcas? Let me hear the government institution. Dinkins Otieno says, great update indeed. KRA is very serious. I think so. You moved very fast on the bits about populated non-eTIMS expense. Thank you, Dr. Ruth. That's why we are here, to just move so quickly so that you can be able to learn. Most landlords don't want to show their details. What can we do? What can we do? I think where KRA is headed is that the way you're saying the bigger lot, that is where they want to, because they cannot be able to get to them. They want to use you, who is available here, to get to them. So they want to know those landlord details. And KRA, by the way, in the past 3 or 4 months, they have been very aggressive on landlords. I've seen them doing a lot of surveillance. They are going door to door, especially on landlords. Repeat the last one. I'll repeat in a minute. Can checks copies be enough supporting document for rent? No, no, James. A check is a mode of payment. It is a payment model. It's not a support document. It's the way that you can say, I have an M-Pesa receipt. Remember, M-Pesa can even give you a receipt. So that receipt is just a proof of payment. It's not a source document. So you need to get those receipts to just have the information. The maximum document it can upload, we don't know. We don't know, Josma. Come learn next. Within 2 weeks, tutakuwa upload, tutakuwa tumeifanya, then we can be able to tell you. And remember, we are heading to April. We have April, May, and June. I don't know if the system will be able to really handle all that information that CARE is asking that we provide. So we are going to see how the system is going to react. And of course, sometimes I know some of us can hold and say, oh, let's wait for June. I love the system, itakosa kufanya. But I've seen KRA push their limits to a level that the system doesn't flap, doesn't have slow issues, and they don't, they tell us we have to keep to the point where they had requested we do the uploading of information. When eTIMS came to be, one of the key areas we were asking, how will KRA be able to handle all these business transactions on a daily basis? Can you imagine if you do an eTIMS today in wherever you are, whether Mombasa, wherever, KRA gets to have that data. So we were wondering, but guess what? eTIMS is in use. So many versions of eTIMS, and the auto-population now is working properly. The moment auto-population came in, had a lot of queries, a lot of errors. Right now, the system is working. So Just keep here, we're going to be learning about the document. So Bernard amesema tuko version 17.08. Thank you, Bernard. That is the income tax return version. Please mention about casual wages. I mentioned that casual wages, they are exempted from eTIMS. They are exempted from eTIMS. So have that information well aligned. I said the point where that you're going to input that data for the expenses that are exempted from eTIMS. Okay. So for the people that are sharing your email address, there's a link. Kindly share on the link. It will help us to just pull the link, the emails directly and be able to share. In my view, KRA, I'm missing the point of tax. Okay, sorry. I'm repeating the question. Someone is asking about director's mileage. Director's mileage. I want to ask, tell me more. What do you do for director's mileage? Is the amount when they travel, you pay them? I want to hear more. Why are you exempting it? Is it a benefit to the director? Is it money you give them? Or is it fuel that you fuel their cars? So I've talked about supporting document. You're going to see how do SACCOs, I hear a lot of questions about SACCOs, about NGOs, how they are supposed to be eTIMS compliant. I hear you. So possibly we can handle that next month. We're going to make it as a sector and be able to research about it. Remember, KRA sometimes are really keen on organizations that give them taxes. So I see under NGO, they might be looking at your payroll, especially pay as you earn. And I also see the point where they give you the exemption certificate. They're also keen on how you're doing the eTIMS expenses. So it's also very important to adopt eTIMS because you'll be pinned down, especially when you apply for the compliance, the exemption certificate. So allow me to handle that next month and see how we can do that. How do we record per diem to staff? Remember, there is a per diem that is a benefit to staff and others that are exempt. So per diems, you can write it as an expense. Staff bonuses can be expense them if you don't capture them on pay as you earn. If you don't capture them on pay as you earn, during audit, KRA will also check them and charge them pay as you earn. I also think pay as you earn is a huge area that we need to discuss as a whole. So I also write it there. I see so many errors, especially on pay, the bonuses, the per diems, the allowances. We can capture that as a topic and discuss that issues. I've also seen others that give so many benefits. So we'll look at that in totality and see how you can go about it. Can you choose a different tax consultant at point of objection? Yes, you can at any point, even objection, even tribunal, even you just write to, when you choose, you just write a letter of appointment and give to KRA. They are supposed to ask. You are the taxpayer, so you are the one who is appointing. They will work with the one that is being appointed. What happens if you receive an eTIMS receipt 2026 of a transaction that was paid 2025? Can you use it to declare my expenses for 2025 or 2026? Washuka. Okay. Okay. So you're getting the eTIMS way later. What happens to a receipt? So you can use either way. I would want to hear the magnitude, the materiality of the receipt. Is it material? I would want to hear more so that I can be able to guide more. What happens to a receipt from land doesn't have ETR? Is okay, it's not a must, doesn't have ETR. So at the moment, Michael, for 2025, you can use receipts which are not ETR, eTIMS compliant. But for year 2026, kindly request for those eTIMS. Actually, I've seen landlords that are telling me that even residential tenants are asking for eTIMS invoice. Kenyans hawachezi. Residential tenants asking for eTIMS invoices. How does this apply for individual working as consultants? So for individuals that are working as consultants, for that company that you're working for, you have to raise an eTIMS invoice. By the way, this is also something that I've seen. So the company will request for an eTIMS invoice before they do the 5% withholding, so that they can also cover themselves. So they need to pay you. They need to cover that expense. So if you're not on pay as you earn, the payroll, you give them an eTIMS invoice. Then for you, remember, when they do the 5%, that is not final tax. I've also seen that with many consultants, that we treat the 5% as a final tax. And you don't pay for, and you don't find your return. Remember, we have 2025. If anybody did for you a withholding, with any withholding, you're supposed to do business income, declaration of that business income. You have some expenses, then you pay taxes. At the point where you find that you're paying the taxes, then you can be able to claim. You can be able to say there's a 5% that was withheld, and this is the money. So 5% withholding on consultants on professional fee is not final tax. Okay. About drivers' mileage, I've talked about that. So is it money, Omar, is it money you're giving directors, or are you fueling their car? Would want to hear that portion. So I've talked about handling it as an expense. If it is fuel, you have the eTIMS for fuel. If you're giving them money, is it money? Is it a benefit that should be paid, should be charged pay as you earn? So I would want to hear Omar more. And if it is very, very personalized, my co-host shared a calendar booking. You can do a calendar booking and you can be able to answer your question. What happens if a company has overpaid withholding tax in the previous year, but what is pre-populated is only for 2025? You can ask for those debit and credit vouchers. Ask for those vouchers. And if you're not getting that voucher, you can talk to KRA and they can be able to give that voucher. So they can give you a voucher that you can be able to use for year 2025. For year 20, yes. How do you handle commission paid to individuals who bring business to the company, for example, tourism, you will be required to, sawa. So for those commissions, Christopher, make sure that they give you eTIMS invoices, then you can do the 5% withholding. You can do the 5% withholding when you're paying them. I want you to reminder ask for contacts. I'll share the contacts right now. My co-host, you can share our number 0728. When you call, I'll be able to pick the call. So my co-host naweza andika hiyo. What if the airtime provided to staff should have eTIMS receipts? I'm imagining it, even airtime is having receipts. You can tell me if airtime is having receipts. I'm imagining all this. Even when you do Facebook boosting, inakupea risiti. Saizi hakuna kitu haina risiti. Risiti inatoka tu. We have a software company and we have one client based in Uganda. How can I issue eTIMS invoice? You didn't just issue an eTIMS. You just write their name and say they're in Uganda. You will still issue the eTIMS invoice. If it is VAT, possibly they don't have a PIN certificate, but you can issue the eTIMS. So you can issue eTIMS to even the foreign companies. Talk about those employees that are in pay and are still getting commissions. Esther, the simplest way to work it out is to have those commissions under the salaries and do pay as you earn. Otherwise, I'm very sure you're not raising certificates on those commissions. You're not raising certificates on those commissions. So during a tax audit, you find that you're going to lose on those, you're going to be penalized on that mistake. So the best formula is that commission, add it to the salary, pay as you earn, and just handle that. Remember, pay as you earn to the staff is a final tax. So when they are filing their returns, they just do a new return. They just acknowledge those pay that was done, and that is it. But if you do a withholding 5% to any employee, that is not final tax. They will be required to do a return on their side to acknowledge that income and then to pay the other necessary taxes. So I guess nimeanza maswali mingi. I can see many coming in. Okay. I can see many questions. Susan, do we raise eTIMS on school fees? Yes, I've seen schools that are raising eTIMS. Remember, schools are exempted from VAT. So you register for eTIMS and it is VAT exempted. So you'll not be paying VAT, but you'll be able to capture all your data under eTIMS. Even hospitals are doing eTIMS. Remember, if they are going to claim that that amount of money from insurance companies, one of the rules for insurance is that they want to see eTIMS invoices. So even now, go check your hospital. You find that the receipt they will give you, it is eTIMS compliant. So many organizations have been able to adopt eTIMS. So with that, I would want to really thank you for coming on board. Before I answer, I can just see your questions, more questions coming in. I would want to talk about our taxation masterclass. We had a very successful taxation masterclass this month of March, successful. So we are planning another one in August, and it will be the final. We do those two. So if you really want to learn, you can save on this. And the best side of our master classes is that they are very practical. You can see the practical bit that I'm doing. They're extremely, extremely practical. So you come with your laptop and you learn and learn and learn. So you can start saving for that. Meanwhile, we'll be having the audit and bookkeeping masterclass that also will be in October. So we'll have, for the year, we'll be having these two. We have this, and we'll also be having the audit and bookkeeping masterclass in October. You can also save on us on that. Both of them will be extremely, extremely practical. So for all your tax services, RWK Africa, we are here. Our number is at 0728 897 429. You can call and request to talk to me, and we have a big workforce to be able to handle all your tax issues. And especially now, we are doing audits. And the good side with us is that because we understand tax, we are also able to really do your audit very, very well. So you can also talk to us for, especially with the speciality of filing for this 2025 return, you can be able to talk to us. And so we also have internal audit services, advisory services, bookkeeping services. We have a lot of services that we do, and you can talk to us. So we conduct these webinars 3 times in a month. We have tax trends. So within 2 weeks, we're going to do that. And because we have your email, we're going to tell you, come learn. We're going to show you what is the new in the system. By the way, I did mention about that notion of the removal of VAT, the 5% threshold. I'll talk about it on the tax trends and see what is KRA saying, what is the Treasury saying, what is the proposal on the finance bill, and all that information. I'll share that particular point. What will be the changes in iTax? I also mentioned them there. We also have a topic. I'll see if we can talk about pay and the many issues on the pay. Then on the sector-based, I guess we can talk about NGOs and SACCOs. We'll see where we can be able to handle. So we handle tax trends, we handle a topic, and we handle a sector on taxes. So asanteni sana. I would want my co-host, if you're here and you have a bit of time, if you have 10 more minutes, I would want to talk to you on something else. Great insights. Thank you so much. Asanteni sana. Asanteni sana. You can follow me also on TikTok. I'm trying to give information. I think content creation is something. Oh my goodness, content creation is crazy. But I'm trying as much as I can. I'm trying my best to do TikTok. So you can follow me, and I'll keep giving some information about taxes and about business and so many others. So you can also be able to follow me on that. So asanteni sana. For the rest of you, I was not able to answer your question. We always get all these questions and we put them together. If it is something that is very concrete, very, I'll also be able to answer it. Follow me on TikTok. Sometimes I just answer some of these questions. And if you have very personalized, there's a calendar booking, there's a number you can call. We just answer some of these questions. We just answer without so many things. I saw your balance sheet insights on Facebook. Very good. Very good. A balance sheet has a lot of tax queries when KRA comes in. So make sure that your balance sheet is done very well. Thank you. Thank you. So I'll request for 10 minutes if you have time. So we have, when we we have a CSR program that we run. It's called Skill Up Mentorship Program. I am very sure that also you've seen it somewhere, where we give skills to especially those people that are starting on business to just come learn and get a skill that they can be able to do a business. For me, I think one of our greatest role is to help businesses be able to learn, skill, understand some of these tax issues, bookkeeping, financial management, that area. And last week, we were also able to launch a cohort. We are calling it Skill Up Incubation Program, that we are doing a sales accelerator program. And I'm so thankful to God that He has given us so many very, very good trainers that have come to even offer pro bono services to just see that CSR program moving. And they'll be training on financial management, marketing, social media, just to see those businesses able to scale. So when we started this 3 years ago, I realized that the people that came for this mentorship program, they did not have accounting system. And even when we do KRA stuff, I always ask, KRA will ask for a sales ledger. You don't have an accounting system. And we went out to ask, why are businesses not having an accounting system? And they told us that the accounting systems that are there are very complex. And as business owners, they are unable to use them. And we came up and started developing an accounting software. We call it My Accurate Books, and I'm very sure you've seen it somewhere. It is a simplified accounting software for businesses. And at the moment, we have very good customers with touching base, and I would ask request for 10 minutes to just hear about it. And you can also be able to adopt it. And I'm very sure that you'll be able to put your books in order. With that, I say asanteni sana. God bless you. God bless your businesses. And may you prosper in every way. Have a lovely Friday. So karibu sana.
Hello. Hello guys, hope you mnanisikia. As a madam as said about My Accurate Books, is a very simplified accounting software that we were able to come up with because of the Skill Up mentorship, and also because of the smaller and medium business size, that they can be able to track about their business. So the system, as you can see, you can be able to access it through your phone and also through your computer or desktop. It's a cloud-based system, so you can be able to log from it from any device that you have that has internet. So these are some of the key features of the system. So My Accurate Books as a point of sale. So a point of sale, you can be able to generate receipts, track inventory, and also manage all the customers' transaction, generate quotations, credit notes, and all that. So you can be able to do that on the POS. Then on the customer management, you can be able to add your customers on the system, so that maybe the customers you sell on credit, you can always be able to track about their payments, and also to generate customer statements. And also for business clients, so again, you can also be able to add them on the system, so that again, you can be able to manage their statements. Then the item management is you can be able to add your items on the system, so that you can always have a correct tracking of your inventory. And also you can be able to set a reminder of your products, so that whenever they reach a particular set point, you can be notified that the particular items are going low on stock, so that now you can be able to engage your supplier and send a LPO to bring you more stocks on that particular item. Then on the payment integration, we have integrated it with M-Pesa Till and also My Accurate Wallet, which is a wallet that can be used to manage your petty cash money and also the petty cash in the business. The other great aspects of the system is the ability to have the multi-user. So most of the business owners are not always in their workplace. So they usually have employees who are managing the systems. So with this particular system, you can be able to add your employees on the system with their own logins. And also you can be able to control the permission, the areas they can be able to visit. So you can always be able to delegate the roles they are supposed to perform, and they are not able to visit the area that they are not supposed to. As also I had said, it is a cloud-based system whereby you can be able to access it from anywhere, from any device, or actually on internet. So also you'll be able to get financial reports. You'll be able to get real-time financial reports, track your income, see your profit and loss, see your sales reports, see your customer balances. You can always be able to track that. And also all the transactions within the business, you can always be able to see them and also generate receipts for that. The other aspect is about the multi-business. So you can be able to run different businesses using this particular system. So you run maybe an auto spare, and also maybe you run a cosmetic shop. So you can be able to have those particular businesses using one account, but you can be able to manage them separately. And also automated invoicing, creating quotation, and also credit notes. Those are some of the key features of the system. So I'll just give you a preview look of a real account on the system. Okay, so I'll just so just a minute. So I'll just log into my account. So this is a live account of My Accurate Books that I've shown you the landing page of on the website. Now this is the landing page. Whenever you log into your account, you always be able to see the dashboard analytics, which just gives you a good clarity of how your business is performing. It gives you, depending on the date range you have applied on the filter, the sales of that particular period, the expenses of that particular period, the purchases of that particular period, and also it gives you a preview of what you are making on that business. Then a great sales report of each particular day of how your sales are performing. You can always be able to track the sales from day 1 to day 31 of that particular month, and also a data's report to show you how if maybe you sell on credit to some of your clients, you can always be able to see an amount of money which is still with my customers that may need collection, and also so that I can be able to keep track of my credit limits. So the dashboard just gives you a great overview of how your business is running. So these are some of the key features on the system. The inventory is where you can be able to input your products. So you'll be able to add your products, and also, so this particular system, you can be able to use it for product-based business and also for services. So these are some of the products I have on the system. So you can be able to add all your products you sell in your business, and also set reorder levels, so that when an item is about to go out of stock, you can always be notified this particular item is low on stock. And again, the services, you'll also be able to input the services you offer in the system, so that you can always be able to see the different categories of your inventory. Then on the stock transfer, maybe you have different branches. So, and maybe you have one particular branch, which is your headquarter. So the other branches can always be able to send a stock request from the main branch, from them to the main branch, so that the admin can be able to approve those particular stock transfer, which directly go to those particular branches. And then now you can be able to ship the physical items to those particular branches. Then the other aspect of the system, which is very key for our business, is about the stock tax. because at the end of the month, maybe you do a stock take of how your products are moving. So you'll be able to always have a stock take on each particular day you do a stock take. So just click on the stock take. And then these are some of the stock takes I have done so far. So you'll always be able to have a preview of all the stock takes you have taken through the whole period. So if I want to start a new stock take today, I just click start a stock take, and then I click starting a stock take. So the system will generate this template, which shows all the products I have and what is expected to be there on the system. Then I can now be able to just do a stock take of what I found, and in case of any variance, I can always be able to tell it has a variance. Maybe this particular item I found that it's a 460. I just input the 460, and then I can be able to see the variance which I have on that particular item, and also it can be able to give me a value impact of those particular items which are missing, so that you can always be able to track in case there is mismanagement of your product. So you'll just take a stock take of all your items, and then it will be able to show you the value impact and also the variance on the products, so that you can always be able to counter check with maybe the person who is in charge in the store. And then that is more on the inventory. Then on the sales is whereby you'll be able to create a view sales, that is view all the sales which have been done on a particular day, on a particular week, on a particular month. So you'll be able to have a list of all the invoices and the receipts generated, and also the status of the payments. So if a particular customer, you offered them a particular service or a particular product, they paid half of the amount, you can always be able to track that. And whenever they make a payment, you can always just click on that particular invoice and receive that particular payment, so that you can always keep track of all the debts which are with your customers. And then on the make sales is where you can be able to create receipts and invoices for your products. So we have 3 types of views. There is a quick sell, which is basically for maybe for restaurants and also for clubs who do sales very fast. You just can always be able to click a particular item and just do a quick sell, a quick cash sell, which is very efficient, so that you don't have a long lines of customers waiting. So just click on that particular item, do a quick cash sell, and then you can just generate that particular receipt and also print it and share with the customer, which is it takes less than a second. That's how fast the system it is. Then any kind of a receipt you generate, you can always be able to see them, and also the date that particular receipt was invoiced and time, so that you can be able to keep track of how the customers were moving in within the business. Then again, you can also be able to generate quotation through the system, so you don't have to go and do the manual quotations. You can do it through the system. And again, if you send a quotation and it's approved, you can always be able to generate a invoice directly. And if it's rejected, you can also be able to update that, so that you can always keep track of all the quotation generated. And also you can also be able to issue credit notes maybe for wrong entries in creating receipts, and also receive payments as well, where you can be able to see all the data's report of the customers who wako na pesa yako nje, so that you can always be able to keep track of all the money which is out of the business that should be collected. That is more on the sales aspect. Then on the purchase aspect is whereby you can be able to create a purchase order for your suppliers, record all the purchases, create debit notes, and also have your suppliers on the system, and also pay your suppliers. So again, you'll be able to add your suppliers on the system, so that you can always, whenever maybe they want a statement of their supplies, you can always be able to generate a supplier statement and also issue them those particular statements, which is very efficient, very fast, so that any information in the business, you can always have it at a click of an hand. And then on the transaction is just gives you a track of all the money ins and money outs of the business, and also all the receipts which are generated, invoices, and also payments to your suppliers. And again, each particular payment, when made to maybe a customer comes and pays maybe for an invoice they had taken, you can always be able to generate a receipt for that and issue that particular customer. So any particular transaction in the system, you can always be able to generate a receipt for all of them. Then that is more on the purchase aspects. So we can go to the transaction. We have looked into it. Then on the expenses. On the expenses dashboard, a lot of business sometimes they wanapoteza track of how their expenses in the business are running. Even paying a boda rider the 200 shillings, which is an expense, some forget to adjust it into the system or record it. But with this particular system, anytime you incur an expense, you will always be able to input it in the system in a real time. So just click on the expenses. First on the categories, where you'll be able to add the different categories of expenses you incur. So that when you come to the expense dashboard and you want to input a particular expense, when you click add expense, you can always select that particular category, so that you can always know this particular category of salaries and wages. We spend this particular amount and we pay to these particular employees. Maybe on the internet, we use this particular internet, we pay Safaricom for this particular internet expense, and also a cumulative expense report of each particular expense which was incurred in the business, so that anytime you want to generate an expense report, you can always be able to tell how much you have spent this particular month, this particular week, this particular day, so that when generating your report, that is maybe the P&L, you will be able to capture those particular reports. Then on the customers is whereby you can be able to add all your customers database on the system, so that you will never lose your database of your customers, so that you can be able to differentiate your business customers from your contacts in the phone list. So you'll just be able to create your customers on the system. There are two types of customers, individual customer and also a business customer. So there are just some information which are required for each. So for an individual customer, you just need the name, the phone number of the customer, and maybe if they had an opening balance, you can always be able to input it on the system. For a business, you need maybe their business name, contact person, KRA PIN, if provided, and also their email, so that these particulars will always be on their invoices and also on their receipts. And then what else? It's a very user-friendly system for a business owner who doesn't even have an accounting knowledge. So you can always be able to track how the business is performing. So the accounting is where you can be able to generate all the accounting reports from the cash flow. You can be able to, the system automatically fills those particular data. You can always be able to generate maybe a cash flow report, see all the monies and money out of the business, generate the balance sheet, the trial balance, general assets, also add your assets in the system, and also all the journal of entries within the system. You can always keep track of all the entries which are made into the system. So you can always be able to see all that and generate those particular reports, and also you can be able to add different charts of accounts. Then on the normal reports, maybe the inventory report to see what balances we have in our stock. On our profit and loss report, again, the system automatically generates that for you. So you can always be able to see the sales you have done, that is the total revenue, the total cost of goods sold, and then which shows you your gross, and then your operating expenses to see your net income, which is maybe this particular amount, and also an expense summary to show where the 519,000, which is our expenses, came from. It just gives you all those particular details. Then on the customer, you can be able to generate a data report, customer balances, and also a daily collection within the business. And also creditors report, maybe some of your suppliers, they supplied you items on credit. You can always be able to see how much you are owed by your suppliers. Then on the sales report, you can be able to generate a daily sales report, monthly sales report to see the transaction within the business. That is on the sales. That is more on the sales report. Then we go to the user management, whereby you can be able to add different employees. Maybe you are the business owner. You have a cashier or a salesperson who usually runs the system. So you can be able to just add them on the system with their own logins. So just click add that particular user, add their email, their phone number, assign the branch. So you can be able to add the different branches maybe you have, maybe RWK branch, then a role, maybe it's a salesperson, Then on the next page is whereby you can be able to limit what they can be able to see on the system and their work plan. So if they are supposed to do sales, you just give them sales and customers. So they are not able to interact with the other aspects of the system unless given permission to that. What now they can be able to see if given sales and customers, they're just the selling price, the number of items we have in the system, and also the customers. So then you can be able to add them. Then on the branches, whereby you can be able to add different branches. So if you have 2 or 3 branches on this particular business, you can always be able to add them on the system, so that you can be able to track each particular branch performance on its own, so that when generating reports, you can be able to see each branch, what they made, and also you can also be able to generate a combined report of all the branches. So if you have all the branches, you can be able to switch from one branch to the other and see the performance. And again, if as an admin, you can always be able to log in anytime and see what is happening in the shop without you being there. Then on the customization, you can be able to customize how your invoices, receipts, and quotation look like. And then the other aspect is the billing, whereby you can be able to choose the different package you want to use. So the system is first thing is very user friendly. It has very great features. So it has a very great value for a business, and these are the packages that we offer. So we have 2 packages, the standard package and the gold package. So on the standard package, you can be able to access the inventory management, invoicing and receipts, quotation, expenses, customer management, debtors report, profit, loss, inventory, stock transfer, 3 branches, 6 users, and also the accurate pay wallet. And also, you can, when on the gold package, you can be able to see all what is in the standard package, plus advanced accounting suite, plus document customization, and also the ability to run 2 types of business, which are very different, under one account. So you don't have to pay for 2 accounts. You can always be able to use one account and also generate these all accounting reports, and also do have more branches, more users, and also support, and also the accurate pay wallet. So those are some of the key features of the system. And also the packages are very customer friendly. So hatujawafinya sana. Then you can always be built on a monthly basis, semi-annually basis, yearly basis, or a quarterly basis. And also we do virtual demos. So before even you onboard, we give you maybe a 10 minutes virtual demo. We just navigate with you through the system, show you the different aspects and how you can be able to input the different entries in the system, so that now when you start rolling it out, you are very pro in running through it. So, and also if you have questions, you can drop them on the chat box, and I will be able to take some of the questions. Sawa sawa. So I'll just take a few questions on the system. So let me just go on the chat box. We see some of the questions you have asked. So if you have a question, you can drop them on the chat box, and then I will be able to take a few questions from you. And also my colleague is guest on the chat box giving you a question. And also you can be able to reach us on 011 63 33 000. 0116 000. So let me check the few questions you have asked about accurate books. So you have asked about the eTIMS. The eTIMS, we are about to roll it. We were waiting for some approval from KRA, and we have been given a go-ahead. So very soon we'll be able to have it on the system. So in the meantime, you can use it, and also when we roll it, we'll be able to send you a message on that we have rolled the eTIMS on the system, and then you can be able to have a seamless interaction with it. Hello, James. You are asking if we are projecting the system. Yes, that is the outlook of My Accurate Books. So when you go to the search, you are searching and you type myaccuratebooks.com, you can be able to access that particular site, create an account, and then we'll be able to give you a call, take you through the system, and onboard you. So, and also if maybe you have another inquiry, you can fill in the Google Meet page, the Google Meet page, and then you can be able to reach out on the few questions you have. AC has asked about manufacturing. Yes, the system can be able to handle manufacturing. It has the aspect of item composition. So you can be able to input your different raw materials and also the finished products which you are manufacturing, so that anytime you do manufacturing, you can be able to have an aspect of deduction from the raw materials and also addition into the final product. That is something which is catered on the Accurate book, so you can have an interaction with it, and then again we can take you through it, and now you can be able to navigate through in the aspect of manufacturing. So reach out AC on 0116 or just go to the website. You can always be able to click request a demo, and then I can be able to reach you out, and then we can be able to do you a virtual demo of how the system works. Does the system incorporate different kinds? Yes, maybe Jen, I can just go back to the system, just a minute, just go back to the system. I show the aspect of different currencies. So when you go to sales and you want to make a sale, and maybe select particular items maybe you want to sell. So, and can be able to click convert the currency. So you can be able to convert your invoice into different currencies from USD, Euro, GBV, Uganda shillings, Tanzania shillings, and also the Rwanda. So it's an aspect that we looked into it and make sure it is on the system. So you can always be able to do a currency conversion, and also the invoice will go with the currency that you want to generate an invoice with. So that is very catered for June. And also another aspect of the system is the integration. So we have an integration with M-Pesa and also our My Accurate Pay wallet. So you can be able to prompt a customer and to make a payment. So my colleague has shared the link to the website. So just click on the link, create an account, and then I will just give you a call, take you through the system even before you start onboarding. And even we can give you a discount on, because you are from the tax and tax audit in the eTIMS era. We can try to figure out a discount that we can also be able to give you, so that you can be able to onboard on the system faster. Yeah, once you have asked about the integration to M-Pesa, yes, we are integrated to M-Pesa. So you can always be able to prompt our customers from the system, and they can be able to make their payments. And also we have integrated with the Accurate Pay wallet, which is our wallet for Accurate Books, which is used to manage the petty cash money movement within the organization. So it is a well thought system. So you'll be able to have a great interaction with the system, managing your business seamlessly, and also having the power to carry your business in your pocket, which is now your phone. So you can always keep track of how your business is performing through just a click on the phone. Whenever you are doing whatever you are doing, you can always be able to tell what is happening in the business. You don't have to make the big hassle of traveling to the business to look what is happening. Are they making sales? You can always check through the system, check the stocks. In case some items are going low of stock, you can always be able to tell. So that is something we have really well thought. So that's why the system is web-based, so that and always online, so that you can be able to see what is happening on the business on a real-time basis. You don't have to kungojea ati reports at the end of the day. You can always keep track of reports even on an hourly basis to see how the business is performing. So in case you have a question, you can always be able to reach us on our mobile numbers, or 0116 333 000 or 0796 834 139. So if you give us a call, we can be able to do your the 10 minutes virtual demo, help you on board on the system, help you input your inventory, show you how you can be able to create receipts, quotation, how to send invoices to your customers, so that you will just have a very seamless business transaction with My Accurate Books. So in case of any other question, just reach us, and then we can be able to take you through. So I thank you for the great time and also the good interaction we have had from me and also from Madam Daktari. So just keep in touch, and then we'll be able to navigate through My Accurate Books together, manage your business record, manage your expenses, manage your purchases. Just keep track of your business, see where your business has some loopholes. Like a client we have currently for an hardware, he found out that his employees already made a business from his business, so they were sharing the profits, because yeye akinunua simiti anakuja tu anaekelea ahesabu how the stock is moving. But now, where the moment we introduce them to My Accurate Books, he can always be able to tell what came in, what went out, what was the variance. In case of any issue, he can always be able to track the root cause of the problem, and also the system has audit logs, whereby you can be able to trace each particular transaction and the person who made that particular transaction. So it's a well thought system with business owners in mindset, so that they can be able to manage their business seamlessly. So I thank you for the great time. We'll continue this particular talk on the Accurate Books, and we'll have a great time. So thank you for your time, and have a good day.